Well, let's talk about how insane people are with this stuff, because apparently the only news is COVID news.
Yep.
All right, there's this viral video.
This one was awesome.
Foul-mouthed Delta passenger who was arrested for spitting at and punching 80-year-old man for not wearing a mask while he ate, despite her not wearing one either, is revealed to be a luxury real estate agent and former Raiderette.
Man. So he got spit. She spit in his mouth.
In his mouth!
Yes. All in the name for fighting COVID.
Honestly, I would pay good money to have a Raiderette spit in my mouth.
Hey, family-friendly show.
Hey, that was a completely rated PG joke.
Great.
That was good. That was one of my better ones. Thank you.
Good.
I'm just gonna leave right now.
So that was a good one. So this lady is in this viral video. She's on the plane, and there's a guy minding his own business, and he's like eating, and she's screaming at him, "Wear your mask!" Why have people gone insane? I think, you know what I think? Misery loves company. This lady sees a guy sitting there not wearing the mask, and she thinks, if I have to wear it, so does he, and she gets mad.
Yep.
And so she goes up and starts screaming at him. And then the FBI arrests her. Now she's going to go to jail. There's another viral video where a guy is stalking a woman in a supermarket, and he actually says, is anyone else pissed that we all have to wear masks and she isn't? That's the mentality of these people. They are like children. They're like, well, if I have to, you have to. It's like, bro, is anyone telling you to? They're not telling her to. Take your mask off. There's clearly no enforcement.
Well, do you think it's that, or you think it's just that people who are really bad at life suddenly have the opportunity to exert power over others? Because the people I see doing this, like, you don't see dudes, and I hate to be a bit like I don't want this to sound arrogant, but you don't see dudes who are built like me going up like, put your mask on. No, it's always little pipsqueaks with really bad facial hair.
That's true.
It's really true. So I think it gives betas a chance to feel alpha. Because I don't have the urge, like, I get to bark at high school kids every day and say, get your set. You know, I don't have the urge to and yell at someone without a mask.
I think it's lower than beta.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's a part of the
Omega.
larger kind of psychological conditioning that happened, because you saw the corporate media repeat, you could be a hero, you could save lives, grandma could have an extra year of life if you do your part, if you wear your mask. And they heard that message over and over again. And they also saw grandma and old people dying in horrible, horrific ways, just broadcast to them 24/7 nonstop by the corporate media. And it's ingrained in their psychology that if someone doesn't wear a mask, they're trying to kill me. And this lady, there's reports of her being drunk, whatever it is, I think was a victim of that larger kind of mind control psychosis. And she truly believed he's hurting someone by not wearing a mask.
I think misery loves company. I think you have people like Bill Maher. He went on his show and he was like, I took one for the team, I got 2 shots, and now they're saying I got to do more. I'm not going to do it. That's Bill Maher breaking out of the mold.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are scared to. So what ends up happening is they get their 3rd shot. I've talked to some people, man, and the reaction is really strange.
Yes.
I was talking to someone recently about restrictions, vaccine mandates in cities, and I didn't say anything political. I was just like, wow, I mean, it's going to be, you know, I was like, things are going to get interesting with these mandates. And they're like, who cares? It's totally fine. It's totally no big deal at all. I've got all of my shots. And I was like, all right, like that was a quick escalation. Like there was an agitation in their voice. And my response was like, yeah, but you know, some places they're now saying like, it's after 9 months in Germany or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll get it. It's fine. And I'm like, all right, slow down, dude. Like what I'm hearing in this is, there are people who are unsure of themselves and they're scared. So they want to feel comfort knowing everyone else is in the same position they are. So when they say, I went and did this because I had to, I don't know if it was the right thing. I'll feel better if everyone else has to do the same thing, but people are refusing. I think what's happening is there are people who don't want, this is the danger of the vaccine mandates especially. When Bill de Blasio goes on TV and says, we're going to tie your quality of life to the mandate, your paycheck to the mandate. There's going to be a dude, I tell you, man, this is what worries me. They're going to snap. There's going to be a dude who's like, I don't want to do this. I know people who voted Democrat who are posting on Facebook, smack talking me, laughing and gloating. And people I know, then the mandates started hitting for their jobs and they're freaking out. Like, whoa, like what is going on? Do I really have to do this? This is freaking me out. These people are freaking out. When you mandate someone get a medical procedure and get something put in their body and they don't feel good about it, This is going to cause a psychotic break in someone. They are going to have a mental breakdown. They're going to drop to their knees screaming, freaking out because you've backed them into a corner too much. You cannot push people beyond their reasonable boundaries for this long and this far. I used to work in nonprofit fundraising. We would go up to people on the street and tell them, sign up for our cause, give us your money. One of the things I would talk to people about is reasonable boundaries. Can you get a person to do something that is unreasonable? The answer is no. It's very difficult. It takes time and conditioning. After 2 years, at a rapid pace, people have now taken 3 shots. Many of these people don't get their flu shots. They've not gotten their booster shots. They live their life and they mind their own business. But now they're in a position where the government is beating them down over and over and over again. What's happening? This woman on the airplane. She snapped. She lost it. She saw someone who is not experiencing the pain she experiences when the government forced her to do this. And she was angry. Why aren't you suffering like me? And so she spits in his mouth. Ugh. She walks up and she spit in his mouth. Ugh. Well, he had his mouth open and she spit into his face.
That's good aim.
Into his, like,
she got pretty close.
Yeah. And she was very close.
But I think this is people who are feeling anxiety and stress from the government forcing them to do things. They don't have the courage to say no. And so when they see someone who says no, they get angry because that's a reflection on them.
Yeah.
You're too weak. They're not. So they say, if I have to suffer, you have to suffer with me.
Yeah. Bertrand Russell once said, quote, collective fear stimulates herd instinct and tends to produce ferocity towards those who are not regarded as members of the herd. So that quote is very fitting to a lot of what's happening right now sociologically. But I think a lot of people are just in this constant state of anxiety, paranoia, fear of this larger unknown. And I think a lot of people out there play on this fear of the unknown because it works on our imagination. It works on our greatest fears personally in our lives. And I think a lot of this has been codified by a lot of the corporate media coverage. When you see what they're saying, when you see over and over again the messaging that they're bringing out there, it's comply, get on your knees, do as you're told, or else the worst is going to happen to you. And that's a message that is absolutely ridiculous and absolutely one that not only induces fear, but destroys people's immune systems at the same time.
Let's talk about this trope where you get a grade school bully and he's beating up the young nerdy kid. And then the nerdy kid, he's walking one day and then he's outside of school and he sees the bully and there's his dad bullying him. You've seen this trope, right? The kid who's the bully is getting bullied. And because he can't stand up to his dad, he takes his anger out on other people and makes him feel better about himself. That's what I think we're seeing with people like this and all of these other videos. It's people who feel powerless, who want to feel that power. So what do? They join the mob, they grab a pitchfork, and they threaten and scream at you because it makes it feel like they're in control.
Yeah, and I think both of our theories are correct.
Yeah.
I think you have powerless and you have people who are at a breaking point. But you also have just a bad combination of 80-year-old guy, and if you've ever talked to an 80-year-old man, they just don't care.
Yep.
Right.
Like, don't tell, I'm 80 years old, with this woman who's obviously over the top, power hungry, telling him what to do. You had two people who are not going to compromise. You had Israel versus Iraq. You know what I mean? Like, you had no compromise right there. So here we go.
Well, this dude's sitting in his chair minding his own business.
And he's eating. He's literally following the guidelines. Because, look, I'll tell you what, like,
on planes, I don't know.
Yeah.
This was a Delta flight, but on United, they say you have to wear your mask between bites.
They say that, but I guess that's, if you're flying first class, they give you more leeway. It's total classism.
Oh,
First
yeah,
class,
dude. You're rich.
On the way back from Arizona, from my bodybuilding show, the woman next to me didn't have her mask on the whole flight. No drink, no nothing. I was like, well, this is great. So I took mine off. So I think that they do treat the classes differently. But nonetheless, nobody, look, man, when I have food or a beverage in front of me and I fly a lot, my mask is off. Because I'm not putting it on my chin, because what if I dribble food? Like, that's just nasty. And I'll be like, look, lady, like, if I, dribble, there's food in this mask. I ain't got that many of them. So, I don't know. I think it's just a horrible combination. And United, I've heard some bad horror stories. American's been really great, but United was fine today. They didn't do anything crazy. They're all scared.
At the end of this, The fact remains, if you're rich, you're exempt.
Yeah.
Basically, you get a private jet.
Well, there's also CEOs of American Airlines and Southwest that are requesting that we get rid of the masks on plane mandates.
Yeah.
And they're saying this is ridiculous, and they're making arguments against the federal policy for masks on planes.
I think people are going to lose their minds. I think. Have you seen these photos and videos of people at Christmas in like what they're called isolation bubbles?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, this is happening.
Yeah, bubble
Yeah.
people.
Bubble people.
Like Bubble Boy.
Really
So
bad.
there's like a woman, and they built a frame out of PVC
So
pipe and then
bad.
wrapped it in plastic wrap, and she's sitting in it, and they're like, "We're safe, dude." People are gonna lose people are losing their minds.
That is losing their minds, Tim.
Yeah.
That is 100%.
You can buy those plastic tanning like containers or whatever. It's like a wire frame. It's kind of like a hamper, but it's bigger. And you zip it open and stand
my
inside and spray tan, and it contains everything for you.
Oh, I know
And
about
there's
spray
a
tan,
there's
yeah.
a woman sitting in one of those, and she like gives a thumbs up to the camera, and it's like, "You have lost your minds. Look, if you think you're sick, you don't go to a family gathering. It's just that simple." Like I've had many family gatherings
been
where it's
that
like,
way.
"Oh yeah, Joe can't come. He came down with the flu." It's like, okay. But these people are living in this world where some of them aren't even sick. There's one guy, and they were like, he had a potential close contact, so he's staying outside. He had a van, opened up the back, pulled up to the window, and he's sitting in his van eating so that he could be there. And I'm like, this is crazy. People are losing their minds. But what happens when it's not just that people, these people have adopted this worldview. They're choosing this, and they're smiling as they do it. Now, there are people like this lady. They're not smiling as they do it. They're freaking out. Like, I think we're going to see someone lose their mind and seriously hurt themselves or others because they're going to just be like, I'm over this. There's already been a lot of suicide. What happens when you
huge.
get, what happens when someone snaps?
Remember that term going postal back in the day?
Yep.
Yeah.
When you worked in the post office, they drove you to the brink because they were such bad employers. We're basically going to see a bunch of people, quote unquote, go postal. And it makes you kind of have empathy for the people who are kind of losing their minds because they went along with it. Now, I'm fortunate. I live in Tennessee. Like, we literally did 15 days where I live. We're like, okay, that's enough. We didn't die. Cool. Let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, we were having, in July of 2020, in our gym, we had a shoulder-to-shoulder packed event. And nobody cared. And the cops were there having fun with us. Like, it was a good time. Whereas for me to travel and to watch the news is like watching some weird, like, movie. Because none of that ish happens where I live. None of it happens in Williamson County, Tennessee. We'll see a little glimpse of it. We'll see an occasional weirdo. But at the end of the day, man, we have wrestling tournaments. It's packed.
Out here at the casino, you can still smoke indoors. People are smoking all over the place. It's like it's the 1990s. When all this was first starting, you'd go there and they had plastic put up at every table game. And it was really weird. Mm-hmm. The funny thing is, apparently, with the dividers up, people were betting on the don't pass line. So for those that aren't familiar with craps.
Oh, my God.
Are you familiar with craps?
Yeah.
So typically people bet on what's called the pass line. You're betting for the guy the person rolling the die to win. But the don't pass line, betting on them to lose, is a slightly better bet. Typically people don't do that because it's kind of a dick move. But when the dividers went up, people were like, I don't care. You're separated from me. You can get mad at, people just didn't care. It was a weird thing. It really, really separated us. But now out here, it's all over. It's been over for a long time. There's no mandates, but there are still businesses because we're close to DC that are engaging in this. You can tell they're more left leaning. You go into West Virginia and people are going to be like, huh? Like, it doesn't exist. People are just doing their thing.
A lot of people have characterized it as sanitation theater, as there is some preliminary data showing that it was absolutely almost pointless when it comes to, quote, stopping the spread. And again, there's not a lot of science here. There's not a lot of data. Why aren't we collecting the data? Why aren't we investigating a lot of it?
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.